All right, everybody, we're going to talk about a new set of notes today. Today, we're talking standard form. Make sure you update your table of contents. Make sure you take your attendance quiz. Okay, if you are in Zoom today, we are going over the homework, yesterday's check for understanding. So if you want to hear that, make sure you attend today's class. Otherwise, first thing I want you to do is pause this video and write down 2 things about each of these forms of equations. Each equation you see, I want you to write down 2 things that you know about them. All right, so some of the things that I notice about these on this first one is that I see it's in point slope, which means I can identify my slope is -2. I can also see a coordinate that's on my line is +5, -6. And that's just some of the things I can find from that equation. On the second one, this is in slope intercept. It's in slope intercept. Well, I know the slope is -2. And then my B, or my y-intercept, is 4. Now this last one is not something that I'm really 100% sure on, because it says 2x plus y equals 4. That's not in slope intercept. It's not in point slope. So that's 2 things I know. It's not in either one of those. The question is, which form is it in? And that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, so first things first, we're going to go ahead and talk about the equation called standard form. All right. So what is standard form? It's this form right here. You want to write this down. AX plus BY equals C. That is standard form. In standard form, you have X and Y on the same side. They must be on the same side in order to be in standard form. Now, while they're on the same side, there's something special about the number with your X, okay? That number needs to be a whole number, and it should be positive, okay? You always want to make sure that those 2 things are correct in order to be in a correct standard form equation, every time. Now, other things about standard form that we have talked about in other forms is slope and the y-intercept. If I'm looking at standard form, the question is, can I read the slope from this equation? Answer is no. Can I read the y-intercept from this equation? No. If I ask, could I find a point from this equation? Answer is no. I cannot identify, honestly, anything when I'm in standard form. Nothing at all. You cannot identify slope, y-intercept, or a point on your line. Standard form is just an equation. Okay, you cannot identify anything about your line if you are in that form. If you do identify anything when you're in standard form, it's probably going to end up being wrong. All right, so go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to figure out which of these equations goes for each form. All right, so let's see here. 3x minus y equals 10. You should have put that in standard form. Y plus 3/7 equals -1/10 x minus 0.5. That one is going to go in point slope. 2x plus 5y equals 10. That's going to go in standard. Y equals 1/2 x plus 5. That's going to go slope intercept. Y equals 5x minus 10. That's going to go slope intercept. Y minus 5 equals 2, x plus 3 is in point slope. So that's right there, just to make sure that we know what each form looks like for each equation. Slope intercept, we got the y equals. Standard, x and y are on the same side, and your a is positive and a whole number. Point slope, I see the parentheses, and it's a pretty lengthy equation versus the other 2. All right, so now to get to what we do with standard form, okay? Most of the time, what you're going to be doing with standard form is changing it from another form to get it to standard form. That's really what you're doing here to get standard form, okay? Because we said we can't get standard form, we can't identify it, different attributes in standard form. But I can go from one form to another to get to standard form. For instance, I can be in slope-intercept, like these four equations, and I can change them to be in slope-intercept, from slope-intercept to standard. So if I'm looking at y equals negative 8x plus 6, that means I just need to move 8x to the other side by adding it. Remember, you cannot combine things that are not like terms. So if x and y are not like terms, I'm just going to write 8x plus y equals 6. X and y are on the same side, and the number next to my x is positive and a whole number, so I am in standard form. Okay, the next one, I got y equals negative 4x plus 2. Let's add 4x to both sides. And I'm going to get 4x plus y equals 2. On the next one, I got y equals 2x plus 4. On this one, I got to go ahead and subtract 2x. And I have negative 2x plus y equals 4. Now, here's the thing. We did say we don't want this to be negative. We need it to be positive. How do I change this from a negative to a positive? Well, what times a negative makes a negative a positive? A negative times a negative. So if I multiply this entire equation by a negative, that'll change the first part to a positive 2x, but I also have to multiply everything if I multiply one piece. So negative times positive y is negative y, negative times positive 4 is negative 4. And that is an equation in standard form. Why don't you guys try the next one? Pause the video and try it. Okay, let's see if you did this right. Subtract 3x to both sides. I get negative 3x plus y equals 10, but this a is negative, so I need to multiply everything by a negative. That changes negative 3x to positive 3x, positive y to negative y, and 10 to negative 10. All right, guys, I'm going to pick this up in the next video.